feel like, listeners, this weekend just whetted the appetite for the 2024 eventing season, because we got to see some of the biggest horse and rider combinations on US soil battle it out in the Conceal Grand-Prix Eventing Showcase. It was an absolute humdinger. The preview show last week, we pitched it as a Will Coleman versus Liz Halliday showdown. Will Coleman has come out on top, and we're going to reflect on some of the key takeaways from the weekend, because I feel like it set us up for a really competitive spring season. There's lots going on. We're going to talk about it. Dee, how good was it to have live eventing back again? My scoreboard stalking reached whole new levels.
Yeah, it's great to have it back. It's really nice to have it back. This time of year is great, I think, in that the evenings are starting to get a little bit longer. The daffodils are out, Nicole. Tulips are starting to come through. There's just a bit of a release happening post the winter, and this particular show always marks, at the end of the dark months and the beginning of something brighter. And that is, I don't think it could have been marked any better, really, when you think 2024, okay, we've got the Olympics. It's an obvious one that we've all been building towards in our content and our narrative and our storytelling for some time. From a US point of view, did I talk about meeting Chintonic's owner at Gothenburg on the preview show? I think I did.
No.
Hyperion stood. I met her in Gothenburg.
Were you a bit of a fan?
What do you mean?
Well, we've been talking about Gin Tonic for quite a long time.
Yeah, but I'm cooler than that. I'm not. I'm
obviously
not
just not cool.
No.
Yeah, okay. Point taken.
You know what the truth is? There wasn't room for me to be the Gin Tonic fan in the conversation. She absolutely loves Gin Tonic. That she was kind of saying, look, I'm happy for this horse to be the horse that, is the poster boy of eventing for the next 5 years. She loves Gin Tonic, Nicole. And I don't mean she loves Gin Tonic in a way that she loves performance Gin Tonic. She's like, sure, yeah, he's going to dominate the sport and is the best horse. She's the most suitable horse for modern eventing, that we've ever seen. She loves Gin Tonic. And so there wasn't need for me to do it. The only reason I say that is as she was wearing a Paris t-shirt at the same time. She was wearing a Paris 2024 t-shirt.
Manifesting.
Loudly and proudly. She's cool. She's actually a really cool, really nice operator. But this weekend, Nicole, was an absolute, what would you call it? It was dominated, I know, by Will and Gin Tonic. Yeah, but it lays down a really big marker. Sam talked about it to me on WhatsApp. He's dominated in second or third gear. It's still a case of wondering where this horse is going to get to. That's an exciting prospect because it didn't feel like it was all out Gin Tonic yet.
No, it felt very, very easy. And it was interesting actually because he is just gorgeous as a horse in the flesh. If you see him anyway, he looks really, even my husband, who is, he knows a thing or two about horses, but he wouldn't be nearly on the same level of obsession as me. Even he was making quite educated remarks about how much he loved Gin Tonic, which I was quite impressed by. He looked like a super fit, leaner, meaner version of the Gin Tonic that we've seen over the last couple of years. You can tell he's come on in the last 12 months. And that, I think, is the bit that's so excited. It wasn't a day for breaking records in the first phase. The weather conditions, I felt so sorry for Kate, Joni and the team and everybody, because it was just miserable rain for the dressage and the first day of competition. But thankfully that cleared up when the big crowds came in for cross country on Saturday. But we didn't see, really low numbers in the first phase that we thought we might, whether we would have seen Doug Payne and Star Witness's dressage record broken, which I think I put up on the preview show. We didn't, but he got off to a solid start. He led from the front. He was very, very classily clear in the show jumping, and then cross country, he just cruised round. And actually Will had already sewn up the class by this point. So he was going to win on off the record. He could only beat himself. He had about 15 seconds in hand, and he just played with Captain Mark Phillips's cross country track, to be honest. He took a couple of slightly longer lines. One in particular, I think we hadn't really seen anybody else do during the day, but actually he just popped through it, made it look like a bit of a schooling exercise. And he was literally in second or third gear the whole way round. If he'd wanted to make the time, you feel like he absolutely could have made the time. He just looked very, very impressive. Big fan after this weekend. I was very impressed. My Paris prediction is I'm still sticking by it.
What did you predict for Paris? You've made as many predictions as I have.
I think he could be on the individual podium in Paris. Like, you look at the horses that we're talking about for individual gold. We spoke about it on the Horses to Watch show, and we've spoken about it on other shows, the preview show coming into this weekend, and other shows over the winter, the USCA podcast in particular as well. And he has all of the ingredients, notably can do a low 20s into the teens dressage and jump clear in the show jumping. And if his speed is caught up cross country, like a 9-minute track feels like it's a very, very real possibility here. Well, it will be a 9-minute track in Paris, but I mean, in terms of the speed test for Chin Tonic, he looks fitter. He looks really, really, really well. It's not a 5-star test in that regard at this point. You said modern day event horse, and that very much feels like what he's going to be asked of in Paris. But all of a sudden, he's in Chipmunk and London 52 kind of scoring territory. And then you kind of really go game on. Very exciting. Very, very exciting. I'm getting ahead of myself, but I was just very, very impressed by him this weekend. I thought he was absolutely brilliant. I would also say Will had a very good weekend in general. So he took second place with Off the Record as well, moved up from 10th after dressage, very classy double clear, finished in second, just 1 second over the time cross country. I think only one person made the time, Waylon Roberts in the cross country. 4 minutes 18 was the optimum time. So that kind of gives you an idea in terms of the length of this track. And, it's much more compact than you would see at a 4-star or a short format event. Even an intermediate advanced level would be a bit longer.
Packed into 4 minutes. You feel like you're in a tumble dryer. You have to think fast.
Well, are you ready?
Snoop Dogg's out, listeners.
It's not Snoop. This is a guy called Henry from the United States. Would you like me? I can get someone else for you. So what I've done is I've taken some of Will Coleman's post, some of his quotes about the course, because it struck me as you were talking, Nickers, that you said he played with Captain Mark Phillips's course, but like it was a tricky enough.
It was tough, and it was tougher than we've seen in recent years. I think it was intense. But
I went on to Eventing Nation, our friends. Agreed. I went to Eventing Nation to see had they got any Will Coleman quotes. Lo and behold, Sally and the team come up with the goods. So then I decided, what if, rather than me calling them out, Nicole, I could get someone kind of like Will to deliver them for you, so that it would sound a little bit like Will was giving that feedback directly on the pod. Would you like it?
I mean, I think we've gone too far not to follow through for the listeners now.
Do you want it in a general voice, or would you like it kind of more? I could do it as Gwyneth Paltrow. Would you like Paltrow to read it, or would Snoop
Gwyneth
Dogg?
Paltrow can be Will Coleman. Words I never thought I'd say.
Welcome to Speechify.
Okay.
Welcome to Speechify.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Speechify do not support the Eventing podcast, but they seem to be good. Okay, here we go.
The look of panic on his face there, listeners.
Just trying to get Gwyneth to read this bit about Will. This is Gwyneth Paltrow talking about the Aiken Cross Country course designed by Captain Mark Phillips, giving a quote from Will Coleman. It's going to start any moment now. Here we go.
I think for everyone, it's probably a little outside their comfort zone, he continued. It's 28 fences, packed into 4 minutes. You feel like you're in a tumble dryer. You have to think fast, and the horses have to react. And I think it was helpful. I mean, even just the crowds and some of the technicality that Mark laid out. I do think that there's something the horses will take away from it. That's very positive. So I was really pleased with both of my guys. And it served its purpose 1000% coming here. I mean, it's nice to win as well. But I think even if they hadn't won, I still feel like I got what I wanted out of coming here. I do think championships are becoming a bit more like that. The modern sport is going a little bit more that way. I still really love the 5 stars. But this is going to be a part, or at least a taste of what maybe the sport might be trending towards.
So now, worth the wait from Gwyneth?
Gwyneth didn't sound overly enthusiastic about Will Coleman's performances this weekend. But I would also just point out Will Coleman, yes, it's nice to win. It's also nice to go home with $50,000 in your pocket.
50 grand he took away.
Well,
It's nice, isn't it?
Like he won, be there or thereabouts, first and second. I mean, that's a lot of money. But yeah, he's going to be pretty happy after this weekend, I think. And both of his horses actually look really comfortable. I would say off the record, for me, one of the most experienced horses in the field. And he was fast cross country. He showed his experience. There were a few horses that looked, because it was quite intense, looked a little bit caught out in places. A couple of green mistakes, a couple of moments that weren't quite as sort of silky smooth. And actually, off the record, just cruised it. I think Will be very, very, very pleased. Probably more pleased than Gwyneth with those two.
I have a quote again from Eventing Nation.
Are we doing another one?
Well, I was going to see if you wanted it. It's about off the record from Will.
Go on then.
It'll start with Gwyneth, but
Yeah, he's just an amazing horse.
I'll turn it into Snoop. How about that?
Horse will agree. He was really thinking with me the whole way, and I felt like he was on autopilot. Honestly, it was a really cool experience, just how he was just almost reading the questions before I did. And you don't often have those opportunities, but I think as horses get older and they've been with you for a long time, you do start to feel like it's kind of one mind out there. And it's sort of what we had today. It was very, very cool.
I love Snoop Dogg Will Coleman.
That's good.
That's really good. But I agree. I think.
But okay, let's deal with it. Off the record, and Will's in a good space though, isn't he? Generally, I mean, I know it's an easy thing to say after you won 2 at Aiken and take home money, but I think you have to do it as well. You have to do it. For
me, we're coming into Paris. Both of these horses, very much in the conversation. He's got another horse, Diabolo, that was produced by Gemma Tinney over in Australia. That looks a really smart sort of third string coming up through. I'll be fascinated to see where these two go this spring. Kentucky, one would imagine. Will they run in the 4-star short? Will they run in the 5-star? Off the record, I would imagine we'll run in the 5-star. I don't know. I'm really interested. Watch this space for entries over the coming weeks. But very impressive from Will Coleman. And I think he'll be very, very pleased. That first time he's been to the showcase, some 5 years or so. I think he went back in maybe 2019. So I bet he'll be back next year. He'll be on the starting list next time. Let's talk about Boyd Martin, because Federman B became the first horse to pick up 3 podium finishes at the showcase, which is pretty cool. He won it in 2022.
You were delighted with that, weren't you?
Yeah, won it in 22, third in 23, third in 24. And he has very much made the ride his own now. It's always difficult taking on a horse at sort of a higher level. And actually, they know each other really well. There was a moment out on the cross country. I mean, this horse can seriously gallop. I've never quite appreciated how enormous his stride is, actually. But I was really impressed by it. But he really helped Boyd out on course. I think it was off the Broken Bridge. I'm sure that's where it was. And they landed in a bit of a heap. And Boyd just kind of showed him the flags. And sometimes you want your horse to pick it up and get on with the job, and he did. He wanted to jump between the flags, he wanted to jump the fences, and that's such an important trait in a top level event horse. I was really pleased with him. I thought he was great in all 3 phases, to be honest. Very, very smart.
Well, he's 3 horses there, Nicole, and Federman B is the leader of the pack. Do you want to deal with the other 2?
Yeah, it wasn't the day for sets a leg. Cross country didn't go to plan for them. He's previously gone very well in the showcase, didn't go their way this year. Commando 3, I still have to say I'm a big fan. I know I've been talking about this horse a lot. All of the ingredients there. Spooky test, weather wouldn't have helped, but actually you feel like when it does all come together, it's going to be seriously, seriously smart. And then they misread a corner out on the cross country and sort of landed on it and basically had 11 penalties, so picked up a pin activation, so that took them out of the top of the
when you
order.
Love someone, like when you love a horse, it's kind of like when your own child is bold and you can't really see it, like you're Commander Tree, he's spooky, and also he activated a pin. A really amazing horse when it all comes together.
Don't get me wrong. The one thing I would say is talk about him for Paris, And he's going to have to get rid of the spookiness and is going to have to grow up a bit over the next couple of months, because actually Federman B all of a sudden is looking like the one that's in great form and would be Boyd's first choice. That being said, it's first time out of the season, different environment. I think there are a few horses that are a bit on kind of early spring grass.
Early spring, I get that.
Then they're clipped and it's cold and raining and they're all a little bit wild. So, I mean, look, I just like everything about him in terms of the ingredients he's got. He's got to pull it together, but Commando 3 still looks like the real deal. Will this year be too early? I don't know, but there's still plenty of time over the next couple of months to figure it out. Wasn't the showcase win for them or podium finish, but still very nice. Very nice. I don't think Boyd will be too upset.
They've both made strong starts, Will and Boyd, when you think about it that way, in terms of they both have springs of horses to aim at the summer and at Kentucky. And they've both come out strong here. Next one on the list, I guess, is another same boat. Strong start. Liz Halliday.
Yeah.
On the same page. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Will she be disappointed? I mean, obviously she'll be disappointed not to win, but like, what's your take on, like, will she be disappointed with the performances? Will she be pleased with the performances? Where do you put it?
I think she'll be pleased with them, to be honest. 3 horses, all in the top 10. They all ran very well. Yes, there were a few marks leaked in a couple of places. Cooley Nutcracker jumped to double clear, finished in 4th. Actually feel like Liz was sensible cross country and didn't go flat out. Like there was more in the tank. She didn't take any unnecessary risks with him. Maybe wise not to kind of just go too wild at the start of the season. They've got bigger plans coming up in the next couple of months, perhaps, and just playing it a little bit sensible. But he looked very, very smart, double clear. Interestingly, Cooley Quicksilver. Well, Cooley Nutcracker, first of all, 31.6 was 6th after dressage. Possibly would have liked to have been a little bit closer, but we didn't see many sub 30 scores. I think we actually really only saw one sub 30 score, and that was Will Coleman. I know we might have seen another one. There would have been another one, 3 maybe. There were 3 sub 30 to be fair. Philip Dutton, Quasi Cool, and the other one was Setzeleg, Boyd Martin. So they scored 29, but like we didn't see really low numbers in the first phase. So I'd say she'd be pretty happy with particularly Cooley Nutcracker. Cooley Quicksilver, good to see him back. Had a rail, which just pushed him down a little bit. He was 31.7 in the dressage, 1 rail down. And then a few time penalties, cross country finished in 7th. Mixed Master C was probably the talk of the first phase. So he scored a 32. There was a bit of a discrepancy between the 2 judges. I think Liz would probably feel like it should have been lower than a 32. It is what it is. And they'll move on and kind of see what comes next. But Carolina? I think I would have thought so. I think she'd have felt a little bit hard done by after the dressage.
For Mixed Master C. What was his cross country like, or do you know? I read that she was happy with all of their jumping and that really happy with Nutcracker well, jumping.
He jumped really well. And she's also, maybe it's not a bad thing that she wasn't in the lead and the handbrake was fully off. They all jumped well. He had 1 rail and a few time penalties in the show jumping and then cruised the cross country. So, 3 in the top 10. She's not going to be unhappy with them. She was disappointed not to win, but, strength and depth, what's coming up. They had a really, really good kind of pipe opener to start their season. I think she'll be happy enough.
Right. Her next 2 months are fairly critical for me. Liz.
I think Carolina is going to be a big old Will and Liz showdown again. I think this is going to be the theme of the spring. Yeah,
well, they both like winning early. But actually, both of them know there's big... Yeah, you're right, though. They will... Actually, that's just going to be the way because of the way those horses are. Like, to be honest, how many other horses... My bomb 18 now, but like, how many other horses in the US are consistently going to be able to deliver sub 25? There won't be that many.
No.
I don't think. That's why it'll always feel like a showdown between those two, because I think Aiken, Carolina, first phase at Kentucky, and I guess the 4 or 5, it'll always feel a little bit like those two are right there at the top. Nutcracker's the one going to the 5 at Kentucky, isn't it? I'm sure.
I would imagine all 3 are probably on the track in Kentucky. I'd love to see one come over from Abington.
Feels like a while since she's done that.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? If you've got a home 5-star, Kentucky's such a special place. You're up against the other horses that you'll be facing
Tammy did it.
Yeah, but not in an Olympic year. It feels
Yeah.
important for the US combinations to be going head to head this year, which I always just think is a bit more exciting. Can we talk about, actually, staying on the Paris theme, a combination who went really well for a top 5 finish at the showcase? Ones to be watching. We're very used to seeing New Zealand riders come over and being based in the UK, on campaigns towards major championships. But actually, Monica Spencer and Artist have gone over to the US East Coast as part of their build-up for a potential tilt at Paris. I imagine the plan will be Kentucky, but he was great. 33.2 and actually jumped a really, really smart double clear to move up to 5th. So lots to like from them. And I just think worth keeping on your radar. We're talking a lot about, Tim, Janelle being kind of the two names potentially straight on the team list for Paris. You've still got other places available. You've got the likes of Caroline Powell, Clark Johnston and people like that. But actually, Monica and Artist, just keep a sneaky little eye over on US soil, our Kiwi listeners.
I think that's interesting. Look, there's going to be other times for us to discuss that at length, but I don't. Just because you've poked the bear, is that the right thing to say? I don't want to get into this now, but I do think I think it's maybe only Tim that you would say has enough of a string and enough depth that you can say is definitely a definite for that team. It should be Janelle in that she's hugely experienced, but then really, would you say Caroline Powell's not? Don't think you could. Could you read? No. Could you, if you're going to go rider experience, actually across the board, Clark, Caroline, they all have, there is rider experience there. It's going to be horsepower, I think. And I think it's a good squad. I think Sam Lissington will be part of that conversation as well. And I think I think you're on something there. I think it's really interesting. I think Artist it's a really good chance, but it's going to be a really competitive number 3 and maybe 2 or 3 slot, I would say, Nicole. Or maybe you put Caroline Powell number 2 right now in terms of the order. I don't know. I'm just talking there in opinion, but I'm saying it's not out of the question in a way that normally we would always say Tim, Janelle plus. Whereas I just say it's not criticism of Janelle or anything like that. I'm just saying it feels there's a little bit less depth there, I would say, than there was in previous years. That Caroline could be sneaking in.
To be fair, I don't think there's much sneaking about it. I think Caroline is head above the parapet, firmly putting her hand up. You are right.
Performance was excellent.
Caroline's top 10 in Maryland with Green Acres Special Cavalier was very good. And I understand the horse is going to Badminton. Caroline is not swerving any big targets. She is, going down swinging. She's got another horse going to Badminton, I believe, as well.
Not going down. She's not going down swinging. She's
not going down swinging. Do you know what? Not going down
swinging.
What's the expression?
But going down swinging is fine, but that implies that she's on her. That implies she's going to fight, but ultimately she's going to lose.
Oh no, she's leaving nothing to chance, and she's fighting for her spot. There's a few of them. That's why I mean.
No, you're dead right. You're dead right, because I think you're right on the Badminton one. And actually, in Maryland, she had this kind of thing in the water where she jumped and then kind of kept going as if she was going to jump out of the course, and then had to turn in the water really slowly. That top 10 could have easily been a top 3, top 4. I know you could say shoulda, woulda, coulda, whatever, but it was a very clear one moment in a competition or in a 3 phase decider where I would say, well, that feels solvable. And if that horse feels that good, then Badminton feels the right place. And a top 10 at Badminton, I say a top 10 at Badminton nearly puts them in, Nicole.
I'd say it would, to be honest. Depending on what everybody else does. You're right, because Janelle's got Grappanera coming back this year, and the last time we really saw her was Po 2022 when she won. Didn't see a huge amount of her last year. So Tim has a great string of horses headed up by Falco, but you've got Girillo, you've got Happy Boy, you've got some really smart horses in there as well. Let's watch this space. I just think Monica, Artist, keep an eye on them. Big couple of months coming up, and always have huge respect for anybody that really puts their life on hold to move halfway across the country, halfway across the world, wherever it may be, and actually really commit. And you just hope that it plays out for them. So fingers crossed. Other takeaways from the weekend: Austin O'Connor had a catch ride with Carlson 119. Didn't quite go to plan. His first time on US soil. He didn't really want to be, up close and personal with US soil in that way.
First time on US soil
since
this
Maryland.
Year?
Since Maryland. Yeah. Beg your pardon. Yeah, since Maryland. Didn't quite want to get to know the US soil that well in 2024. But it's always difficult, isn't it, when you take on a catch ride in this kind of competition, because it is so fast and furious.
I saw him do an interview on Aiken social media before the show, and he was talking about, he said something like, "Oh, this horse." I was talking about how lucky he was to ride the horse, how rideable the horse was, but also he said something like, "Oh, I don't think, I need to adapt to him, not him to me." And he has his own opinions, or he's strong and confident himself. So I don't need to, I'll have to just find my way with him. So I was kind of, I was like, what's he say? What's he mean? Or what's he saying? Or what's he mean? And I'm take him on his word in that, I think that is what you have to do in a catch ride situation where you're not going to.
You can't make.
You're not going to change a horse. No, of course not. No.
And ride it.
But that's the risk.
The other one for me that I have to take away from this weekend is Philip Dutton. Great to see quasi callback, but on the preview show,
Nicole identified a horse for us,
who used to be called Imposant, that was ridden by Emily King to a top 5 finish at Blenheim in the 8-9-year-olds a couple of years ago, moved over to Phillips Yard last year, did a couple of internationals, and then has come out this year. He looked seriously smart, well up there after dressage, was actually jumped to a super round, the show jumping, and looked very, very smart on the cross country. Just, I think, probably a little bit too intense this time of year. Philip was quick. He was going for the time. I think he might kind of look back and think, God, I wish I'd just taken a couple of extra pulls. And they had a tumble. I think it was at the Broken Bridge looking back, but there was a lot to like from this combination. You can't doubt Philip Dutton's experience, and he is a real competitor. And I'm very, very much looking forward to seeing where they go next, because all of the ingredients, and very excitingly, very good in the first phase as well. So just a really nice one to watch. Wasn't their weekend, but don't discount them for the rest of the season. Do you want to know my key takeaway, D?
Give me a clue. Is it a horse? Is it a concept? Is it a rider?
Just a concept. Just my takeaway from this weekend.
Your takeaway from this weekend.
Yeah. We'll probably talk about them a bit in Carolina in a few weeks' time.
It is a rider. It is a combination then?
Yeah. Oh,
then it's guessable. Your takeaway from the weekend, and I'm going to just guess that it's none of the people that we've talked about, because that wouldn't make sense.
No, actually, I was going to wrap it up. I was going to finish with this note.
Oh, your takeaway okay, let me pretend I'm Nicole. My takeaway from this weekend is we have seen an absolute beast in Chin Tonic and Will Coleman, that horses like Commando 3 for Boyd, Fetterman B for Boyd, and of course Mixmaster C and Cooley Nutcracker for Liz, they'll all come and challenge him. But right now, Chin Tonic and Will Coleman have started well and will remain the horse to beat.
Freakishly accurate. Freakishly accurate. Beast of a performance. Very impressive. Did it all in third gear. Will Coleman will be a very, very, very happy bunny after this weekend. Yeah. So will his wallet, but he will be a happy bunny.
He's pretty thoughtful though, I would say. There's not much decided yet. There's not much done yet. And actually, he's also a rider. You think of actually the people that we're talking about. All of those names that you've mentioned: Philip, Boyd, Liz, Doug, Monica, who's, as you say, kind of sold all her horses, moved to Ocala, and is giving it a crack for the next couple of years in the US. They all know the heartache and the ups and downs of a sport like this. And I think he'll be pleased and excited. But I think they all are forced, unfortunately. We're not as fans, but they are forced, I think, by the sport to keep their emotions and their excitement levels in check. Would you say? Like they're kind of not allowed.
There's always that feeling. One of the things we love about the showcase is you really get the chance to see some of those big names actually at a pretty good level, kind of coming out and get a taste of what they've been up to over winter, what they might look like coming into the season ahead. And especially an Olympic year, like, it is exciting. You've got to enjoy it because these are the moments. You only get this moment once a year. The other thing I would say is I've mentioned, the prize money on offer a few times throughout this show. And I just want to contextualize that slightly, because how many opportunities are there during the eventing season for $100,000 to be on offer? Like, very few.
3, 4?
Yeah, you have what? Badminton, Burley, Kentucky.
That's kind of it, I would say.
Arkin's got pretty good prize money, but like, this territory is really, really exciting. Huge hats off to Conceal, Taylor Harris Insurance, plenty of the other sponsors that help pull it together as well. But we can't take that lightly, because actually there are very few opportunities in the sport to come away with that kind of money. Other sports, golf, Formula One, football, soccer, whatever you may call it, this tennis, they would all play for that, like, on the regular. They'd play for 10 times that probably on the regular.
No, I think you're onto something. I also think this year, Nicole, was our first year at EquiRatings to work more closely with the team at Aiken. And what's cool and exciting about what they're doing is, actually, we had an opportunity at one point, Nicole, without kind of talking about any names, we had an opportunity to try and introduce a couple of brands to their team, and also to understand the type of marketing and the type of placement that the Aiken team do. But actually, when we started talking, it's so natural and it's so real and it's so for the sport that, the city of Aiken who are involved, it's all about helping the event, to be a valuable and an important part of the tourist and the city calendar, in terms of the role that City of Aiken play. And then equally, from a brand point of view, like when we spoke to Kate, it was all about what would be best for brands and what will work for fans. How can the sport best present itself? How can Aiken best facilitate brands who want to talk to fans? How can we help fans to come and enjoy this, be part of it? While that obviously sounds basic and obvious in terms of what event experience is, I would say that that's not that easy you don't see that all the time, because ultimately events can either get to a size, Badminton, Burley, Kentucky, where they've got so many sponsors and so much. It's so hard to run Burley and Badminton, Kentucky. Like, you see it, we saw it at those shows, like, it's so difficult to run that actually there is quite not disconnect, but you're far away from everybody who's having to buy their ticket on that day, because you're trying to manage so much that actually there's quite a distance between some of the conversations we have and like what that will mean for a ticket holder. It's not that it's not considered, but I couldn't get over how close the everyday ticket holder experience was, how important it was, how every day the brand experience was, where they will be placed, why they will be placed. I'm not saying it doesn't happen at loads of events. It's only that we got to see it really closely at this event. And I think it was really noteworthy. When you put that alongside prize money, Nicole, when you put that alongside the excitement and the effort of each phase, the quality of the technical delegates who were there, I think, is it one or two of them, I think, will definitely be Paris grand jury. Yeah. I think it's a really special event. And I think it's one which actually still only, is this year number 6? Like, it's still quite early compared, like it's kind of like ERM almost, in terms of it's a new concept. And actually, I think it's coming as a force. You saw like the quality of rider that's there. I think that's only going to grow.
Yeah, and we should acknowledge and appreciate just actually how special it is. And in today's climate, we see events finding it difficult to be viable and everything else. And actually, don't underestimate the amount of hard work and support that has gone into the showcase and that goes into other events in order to be able to make them happen. So look, thoroughly enjoyed it. Eventing is back with a bang, listeners. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we did. Looking forward to seeing where it all plays out. We're going to be back talking about all things US eventing in terms of a specific event for the Carolina preview show in a couple of weeks' time. So keep your ears peeled for that one. But for now, Dee, thank you to the whole team at Brewster's Field. Congratulations on a brilliant showcase. Will Coleman, Chin Tonic, very, very impressive winners. Watch this space for them for the rest of the year. We'll be back soon with more. Thanks for listening. Welcome to Fairfax and Favour's Quick Fire Questions. Now, today's guest is a Young Rider Gold medalist. She is a 5-star rider. It is none other than Felicity Collins. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
What is the best piece of advice that you have ever been given?
Don't compare yourself to anyone else.
Who is your horse of a lifetime?
RSH Contendor, aka Mickey, of course.
What Fairfax and Favour boot would you wear to a trot up?
I love the heeled Emiras. I've worn them with a dress as well as jeans, and I just think they're stunning. I absolutely love the over-the-knee look.
If there is any horse that you could ride today, can be current or past, who would it be?
It would always have to be Toledo de Cursa. I am his biggest fan.
Felicity Collins, thank you so much for playing along with Fairfax and Favour's Quickfire Questions.
Thank you very much.